G'day guys, what are we doing? Warwick Farm? Warwick Farm today, 6 races, heavy 10, storms around, lovely weather, 3 metre rail, so we saw last start, outside barriers there were a big advantage, certainly no reason for that not to be the case, sort of on pace, up on speed, off the fence, getting to the middle of the track in the straight, don't want to be too far back on the turn, probably don't want to be cutting up underneath them. May not be as bad, but still I would expect you sort of they've pushed that rail out, that it's still going to play a little bit dicey up the inside. So looking for horses on speed off the rails, sort of outside leader behind, one out, one back sort of is the ideal position, and definitely don't really want to find those horses backing on the inside. I wouldn't imagine they're going to need to overcome a decent bias, I would suggest. So going through them, race 1, very difficult race. You've got Oxford Vision, who's 3 times favourite this time in, so didn't start favourite on debut, ran okay, beaten at $2.10 out from $1.40, $1.20 to $1.40 beaten, $2.10 to $2.20 beaten. Don't mind the setup, don't mind its performances. It's had good gaps behind it in its last two runs and a little bit of merit. Certainly controlled the race last time and had its chance. Does look to do that again here, so I have marked it favourite just because it's got a fitness edge and should be in the right spot here, but certainly no strong convictions to want to step into this horse with any sort of gusto. Giancarlo has been saved from a wide draw last start, probably a harder race there, to be honest, that it was scratched from it. It was 1100, had another trial and went to 1300, so it's had 3 trials straight to 1300, probably looks more suitable. I don't think the rider's in vintage form at the moment, and I didn't really love the last trial, even though it was probably just out for a look. Difficult to step into it today, even though I see there's been money for it. Mar-a-Lago's a really one-pace type who tried really hard last start in an okay maiden, was first up 1200 there on the heavy track, so certainly can improve potentially, and that was a career best first up. A little bit worried that it may regress off that, and it was gelded before this preparation. So a bit of upside for Mar-a-Lago, and could easily sit outside the leader here and just be a little bit too tough. I wouldn't say that's impossible for sure. Who else have we got here is Excelidus, who had 3 starts first time in, out the back every start, very one-paced home in all of those starts. Its last start was probably its best, but what's going on there? Sorry. Certainly looks a different horse. His preparation being gelded, tongue tie goes on. Very quiet trials, travelled really strongly in those trials, but no merit in the last sections of those trials, so a little bit misleading, even though it was very strong to the line in the 730 metre trial first up, without much pressure. Second up again, looked very strong. Where does it get to here last? I know it's only a field of 5, but probably going to be last the inside, and just a little bit difficult to step into short odds about it too. I just think Oxford Vision's probably the most bomb-proof. Mar-a-Lago is going to be outside it. Okay, Giancarlo looks to have some potential, and Excelidus okay as well, but very hard to step into them first up on a heavy track, having to run past those first 2 that have got a fitness edge. Still not a race I'm very excited about. Race 2, this is impossible. Ringmaster has trialled really nicely. Blinkers on first start, drawn a little bit awkward, don't know where it ends up, but that wide draw is probably not too bad, even if they don't go quick, and it is drawn outside the only horse with good speed in Luna Rocks, who showed speed over 900 metres last start, so you'd expect it to take it across if they choose to go that way. Shaquilla, Silent Star, both trialled up well enough to be dangerous here over, I think, 2 short course trials for Shaquilla, 1 short course trial only for Silent Star, but it comes from the Gerald Ryan's table, who usually get them ready fresh pretty well. Obviously heavy track here doesn't make it easy. And then Surreal Leo, who got back in a really fast run race, got home okay with the speed in its favour there, but did roll back to the inside and peak late. So it has upside, but another horse I don't want to sort of step into short odds about. And then we've got Luna Rocks down the bottom, who jumps from 900 to 1100 metres. I'm not sure whether it was well ridden last start or it sort of did it tough, but the conditions were horrible there. It stuck it on really well. Has to go to 1100 now, but as I said, sort of the only horse with really solid natural speed, so that should take it a fair way here from again a suitable draw for this race. So A really difficult race. Ringmaster does look the one to beat, but just be wearing short odds about any sort of first starter on these conditions. And again, it draws a little bit wide, may have to work. As I said, that could be the right spot, but it does have to handle the track conditions. Race 3, very obvious in Samarkand and Vittorioso look to control the speed here. Samarkand had every chance first up, set a solid tempo, but totally controlled the speed there and kicked strongly and won. Has good upside for sure. Looks to draw ideally to sit outside the leader or roll to the front if they go too slow, but I'd say Vittorioso will probably want to hold that spot. And it can run well as also. I've a bit of I think Samarkand's got a bit more upside to Vittorioso and can control the speed from outside it. I think that's a better spot to be today. The horse that's really scary is Dream Runner. Crossover noseband off. Last start, just a complete forgive with an irregular heart rate. Came out and trialled really well since. So it drops from a listed race back to a benchmark 72, obviously up to the mile, 45 days between runs. Has had that trial, but it was 4 weeks ago and been scratched twice since, even though those sort of hasn't been scratched. 2 meetings were abandoned that it was entered for since. So it has had that gap between runs and jumps in distance. The stable is going well enough when the horses are found in the market. So I'd expect it to be a potential improver if it's solid in the betting. Definitely the best horse in the race for mine. And Shadow Park's the other one who's dangerous always. Got the speed on to help it last start. Peaked on its run late there. But it was difficult to run on down the outside and can be fitter. It was jumping in distance there and stays around that same range. So a bit of a D-Day run for Shadow Park. But the nod to the on paces in Samarkand and Vittorioso. I'd actually think Samarkand's the one to beat and Dream Runner's the one that's most scary. Race 4, this is just horrendous. What have we got? We've got Main Stage, looks to just completely control the speed. There's nothing that really wants to push the speed, nothing well set up. Aquilian has sort of been racing over this distance range and further, but in easier and going okay. Pesto's been racing short of the distance. Blinker's come off, had a couple of excuses its first 2 runs back and can improve, but certainly needs to. You've got Dick Whittington only second up, probably needs more racing, but another one that can improve. Sacramento Joe's been going okay. Hermel's been going okay. I think it's had 50 starts for 5 wins or something this Main Stage. Pardon me. Is racing well. If it was Canterbury, I'd probably say it'll just win. Around here, having to get off the fence and get to the middle of the track makes it a little bit more difficult, but it did run well here 4 starts back. Very fit horse that should lead for a long way here, and no excuses for Main Stage if it's beaten today, from what I can see on paper anyway. Race 5, a couple of leaders here in Hold On Honey and No Statement who don't look overly strong. That's why I think that Italian Informant can sit right behind them and prove very hard to hold out here. I think that form's pretty strong for this Democracy Manifest. I think it's a pretty nice horse, chased pretty soundly there, and just needs to drop in hopefully 3rd, at worst 4th behind the 2 leaders, and can give a sight. Flying Tyrrell's a scary horse, very green. Got a nice run through them first up, but strong to the line and very wayward. Always scared of those sorts of runners. Rebel Shadow, 116 days off first up. Going to be closer to last than first, I would imagine, and that makes it difficult for that horse. Illustrating Law and the others I thought were just steady, like as you were. I think they both need to improve off their best form. And as I said, the on paces in Hold On Honey, certainly very well set up. Hold On Honey, very well set up. Back in trip, 3rd up. Peaks, gets a nice run, hopefully outside leader, you would imagine, or leads, and will give a sight. Just think the last 100 may be a little bit vulnerable, but I think it's certainly the horse to run down. An Italian Informant is the one that sits on it and can beat it. Lucky last, and I like this horse, Cold Crush. I thought it was given a pretty average ride first up, overcame some hold-ups in momentum at the top of the straight there. Not a super time or anything like that, and does jump from 1,000 to 1,200. They're my risks with the horse queries, but I think this horse is on the up. It's had some pretty average riders over its time. Is a winner over 1,300. It was a 9 that day, but it wasn't a 9, but it was still like a wet track, and a 9, 1,300 led at a okay tempo and finished off the race nicely. So I'm not too concerned about the 1,000 to 12. It looked like the 1,000 was a little bit short for it first up anyway, the way it sort of won, and that was a career best. So again, a little bit wary bouncing off that, but I think it just gets a really soft run outside the leader here, and should be very hard to beat. If I was riding Game Theory, I'd be taking off 600 out, really trying to put a bit of venom in the race and take the sting out of Coal Crusher's turn of foot. And I think play into the the hard fit nature of Game Theory. It doesn't look a horse that can really quicken too well, but it can maintain a run. And I think if they ride it that way, it'll be hard to beat if they get the full control of the first half and sort of take off. Different Strokes is dangerous. It sort of never got into the race first up. 32 days between runs. This stable's certainly very good at improving them. Loses Surge and gains Josh. Also a nice draw to sort of follow Coal Crusher, you would imagine. Probably sit behind it, but follow it across, and that makes it dangerous. First uppers in Go Troppo and Troll Peninsula, both dangerous horses, but likely to be backing on the inside here, and just have to see them go around today. And same with River Mac, who got a nice enough run through first up. 34 days between runs, 1,000 to 1,200, and I think that's enough to pull it up today, or to be against it, especially at the odds. So I think Coal Crusher is the one to beat here. Game Theory should run well, and Different Strokes are the most likely to sit behind them and get the first or last shot at them. Nothing too exciting there today. Best betting prospects probably look to be Coal Crusher in the last. I'd be saving on Game Theory, maybe, if I was backing it, but there's not too much excitement in the prices there, that's for sure. And again, Italian Informant I thought might be better odds, but we're not going to see them, unfortunately, and it looks well placed. Main Stage also runs well when it's even money. It just only by default it's going to run well, but not really the sort of horse that you want to chime into it at even money. It just looks like nothing can run on. That's about the day for me. Not too much value, small fields. First two very difficult, last two probably the best two betting races. Good luck, guys.